Trump responded. He had a series of tweets. Quote, such poor leadership, ability by the mayor of San Juan and others in Puerto Rico who are not able to get their workers to help. They want everything to be done for them. It should be a community effort. 10,000 federal workers now on island doing a fantastic job, unquote. Let's pause it before we begin the discussion. There are a number of federal workers on the island of Puerto Rico working very hard and doing everything they can. And any criticism of how the response has not been able to get to different pockets is not meant as a criticism of their efforts. But there have been issues with the recovery and relief. Anna, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the president's tweets.
Look, I think the tweets are unconscionable. I think they are unacceptable, and I think there's no justifying them. These people are in great distress. What the mayor of San Juan is doing is voicing the frustration, the anger, the desperation of the people of Puerto Rico. You go anywhere here in the United States, at least I do, and I get stopped by Puerto Ricans telling me that still today they have not heard from their family in Puerto Rico. People are desperate. I'm from Florida. I think the federal government, I think FEMA, I think Donald Trump, I think my governor, Rick Scott, did a great job preparing us. They were slow. They were inadequate. It was inappropriate when it came to Puerto Rico. This is an island where people cannot evacuate. They were in terrible distress to begin with. They needed more. It should not have taken days and days for the USS Comfort to make its way there. It should not have taken a public campaign for the Jones Act to be reversed so that shipping could go there. So there's been so many things. The President of the United States should not have been tweeting about the NFL. He should not have been doing useless political rallies in Alabama. He should have been laser focused on the 3.5 million American citizens that are in peril, in distress, and in such great danger right now.
To be fair, he didn't think that the rally in Alabama was going to be useless, but it turned out that it was. But that's another.
Even if it wasn't going to be useless,
that's another story.
That's not what you should be doing. You have 3.5 million of your citizens in danger.
Michael, I'm sure you disagree with Anna.
I do, of course. I mean, just like FEMA Director Brock Long said, you need unity of command in these kinds of situations. And instead of becoming part of that unity, the mayor, who represents 12% of the people of Puerto Rico, decided to take partisan shots at the president. There were 3,500 federal workers on the ground in Puerto Rico before it started. There are 10,000 now. There are going to be thousands and thousands of combat engineers down there. They've cleared out half the highways are now open. Half of Puerto Rico now has water, and it has access to water. Half of the grocery stores are open again. Things are happening as fast as they can. The problem isn't, like you said, the Jones Act. That, people were talking about that a lot. The supplies are all there. The Jones Act wasn't the problem. The problem is you can't get through to the people, especially in the mountainous regions, because it's destroyed.
Yeah, the roads are really
profoundly destroyed. I think it's unfair. I think it's political to criticize the president and FEMA at this point.
But, you talk about unity of command. Look, the president of the United States is the biggest fish in this structure, right? He's got the biggest bully pulpit of all. And if he wants unity of command, even if he thinks he's being maligned by the mayor of San Juan, he's got to shut up. And the reason he's got to shut up is because he is in a gold-inlaid golf course right now while she is wading through water up to her chest. And so if nothing else, the optics look terrible.
I understand that, but the Republicans learned from Katrina that shutting up it doesn't work, and we're still blaming Brownie for the ravages of nature today.
And we should have been. And what George W. Bush did was, with great humility, admit and acknowledge that the response had not been adequate, and has worked every day of his life since then to try to make it up.
I want to bring the Democrats on the panel, Congresswoman.
Well, so I worked on the DoD task force response to 2004 tsunami in South Asia, and I will tell you that no matter how fast and how adequate this administration thinks their response in a disaster is, it's never enough for people who are suffering. And I listen to my constituents who have been able to connect with their family, and the scene that they're painting for me of what's going on the island is just unimaginable. And we really need to focus, instead of on a Twitter feud, we need to focus on getting all of the capabilities that I know we have as a U.S. government deployed as rapidly as possible to help Puerto Rico.
Bakari?
Well, I mean, I agree with Ana on this, and I think that the president should have been laser focused on helping. I mean, we know that from the 22nd through the 25th, he didn't receive any updates. He didn't receive any debriefings on this issue, and the White House refuses to talk about it.
This is according to the Washington Post. They dispute that, but they haven't.
It's a leak, but another leak.
Well, it doesn't matter. It
does to me.
Leaking is not the problem. It's actually the behavior that's the problem. But even more importantly, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a Democrat versus Republican issue. What happens is you have the mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, who is, as she said, wading through water. She is just voicing that outrage. She's just voicing that frustration. But this isn't new for the president either. I mean, there's a direct correlation between what he said coming down the escalator in Trump Tower to Judge Curiel, to, Sheriff Arpaio, to Charlottesville, to this trope that somehow Puerto Ricans are lazy. I mean, this is nothing new. And I think that people need to take a step back and understand that this is who the president is. There is nothing new about this president, and nothing he says or tweets should surprise us.
He didn't use the word lazy. What he said was, and I quoted this, the mayor of San Juan and others in Puerto Rico want everything to be done for them when it should be a community effort. But how do you interpret that? Because there are a lot of people who are interpreting it as a racial trope, and certainly...
Understood. I mean, the people who want to interpret it as a racial trope will. I mean, the fact of the matter was, I believe the president was criticizing the civil authorities in Puerto Rico. I mean, if you think that the president is being racist in his commentary about Puerto Rico, I think it's interesting to note that 85% of the U.S. Virgin Islands are people of color, non-white. And the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands, who's not a Republican, not a Democrat, is lauding the federal government's response to the hurricane. This is a partisan attack.
They weren't hit as bad as Puerto Rico.
Understood. But
this is. But listen, it takes such an unspeakable level of gall for Donald Trump to say that the people of Puerto Rico want everything done for them. This is a guy who dodged the draft and other people went and fought that war. This is a guy who's had his properties taken out of bankruptcy by other people, including the people of Puerto Rico. This is a guy who's sitting in a fancy golf course while people in Puerto Rico are dying. And he's going to say from that perch that the people of Puerto Rico, who we see making lines all day to get a little food, to get a little water, to get a little ice, want everything done for him?
How did you interpret his remarks?
I think that the way that Puerto Rico is being handled underscores an impression that people on the island already have, is that they're treated unfairly, even though they're American citizens. When they live
long before President Trump.
Yes. And so I think it's important for us to ensure that they get all of the same disaster relief that we delivered to Florida and to Texas and to any other state here on the mainland, because we have to make sure that they understand, we know that they're American citizens and they're our brothers and sisters who are suffering right now. We just need to focus on that as opposed to the political infighting.
I mean, I just want to be clear. I think that the president's actions, not only here, but throughout his entire life, show that there is an animus towards people of color and poor people. And I think that, I mean, if you want to be blunt, I know that Sunday morning shows are where we have nuance and we come here with these hot topics and we talk circles around each other.
I missed that memo.
Yeah, I didn't get that memo either. But the fact is, I mean, I'm not going to channel Kanye West when he was talking about George W. Bush. But there are a great many people, and now Puerto Ricans, if they didn't feel it before, they definitely feel it now, that there is a disdain and an animus that come from.
I'll give you a last word on that.
Of course, that's not true. That's not true at all. I mean, Donald Trump has a record of defending civil rights. Right? No, and that's not even funny. It's not even funny. I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is a partisan attack. Among Trump activists and Republican activists, they're calling it Operation Katrina. They're trying to turn this whole thing into a Katrina response. The fact of the matter is, he did well in Houston, he did well in Florida, and they're doing everything they can in a profoundly destroyed Puerto Rico. And in the end, they'll be